I really have to make this video today and get it out today because today is day 600 of Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine. So I've got to talk about it because this is Thoughts of Brian, and this invasion has completely shaped and changed the way that I think about the world. Now, as I've talked about in other videos, I've always been an advocate for social justice, for standing up for the little guy, for ending poverty, against genocide, against human trafficking, against exploitation, etc., etc. That's always been a big part of the fabric of who I am as a human being. But I've never experienced something like this. I've never known anybody in war zones. I didn't know anybody, who served in Iraq or Afghanistan or anything like that, much less knowing civilians who are caught in the middle of a terrible, terrible war. And that is exactly the situation I found myself in 600 days ago. I got a text message from a friend that said Russians have begun shelling the cities of Ukraine. And then I got messages from other friends along a very similar line. They were terrified. They didn't know what was going on. I've got friends in several different cities around Ukraine. And I had one friend in a small village in the Kherson Oblast. And they, in the first few days of the war, were taken over. They lived under Russian occupation for months until they had a very stressful, harrowing escape where they went to Kherson City, and then the Russians forced them to cross the Dnipro River in the south and go into Crimea. Then they had to go across the Kerch Bridge and up through Russia to be able to escape into Finland. And it was a huge, insane ordeal for months and months. It was very scary. For them, for me. The Russians completely destroyed the internet, so communication was very, very sparse. There were only a couple spots of Wi-Fi connectivity in the small village that my friend was in, and there were Russian patrols around, so it was like, okay, we have to be very, very careful what we communicate, when we communicate. They had to wipe their phone after every conversation. It was crazy. And then I had other friends in other parts of Ukraine that were getting, rockets flying over them, buildings in their cities being hit, constantly wondering, are they going to die? Like, is a rocket going to hit their apartment? It changes a person. It changes a person's perspective when you're constantly on that kind of high alert. I'm not in the war zone. I'm not in any personal danger. But as an empathetic person who cares, you can't help but be affected. I can't help but internalize a lot of what was going on, a lot of the personal pain that people were going through. And it's horrifying. The images coming out of Bucha after it was liberated, the images coming out of Izum, of Mariupol, of Bakhmut, of tons of different cities after they were hit by Russian terror attacks. So it's really brutal, honestly. Like, it's a really, really vicious, brutal thing to experience, certainly for the Ukrainians, but also, like, as an empathetic person. It's pure evil what the Russians they're doing consistently, and it's not like it's one act. It's like over and over and over. It's literally their military doctrine. It's how their military behaves. It's what they do. It's what they did in Syria. It's what they did in Chechnya. It's what they did in Georgia. This Russian way of existing does not value life, is incredibly cruel, tries to cause horror and pain, and ethnic cleansing, genocide, whatever word you want to use. It's tough. This Russian invasion of Ukraine has been going on for 600 days in a full-scale sense. In a partial sense, with the annexation of Crimea and the invasion of Donbass, it's been going on over 9 years. So just wanted to share those thoughts. 600 days of the Russian full-scale invasion.